The next morning, after a long night of intimacy, they returned to the Silver Dragon Queen's bedroom. Leon carefully placed Rosweiss on the bed, catches his breath as he was heavily exhausted from returning to the castle. He muttered to himself that he was finally back. Leon says that he was drained after tossing her around in different places all night. As Leon looked at Rosweiss's sleeping face, he thought that she seemed quite satisfied with the evening, as she slept so soundly. But then, Leon realized what he had just thought and wondered, what does he mean by she is satisfied? He had come for revenge, not for any satisfaction. Annoyed, he shook his head, convincing himself that she had just fully experienced the humiliation of being pinned down by the dragon slayer she despised the most. Leon looked at Rosweiss's sleeping face and thought to himself that, in any case, his revenge had been successful this time. Rising from the bed, he muttered that he should return to his own room before the maids woke up. After all, they weren't in a relationship where they could share a bed until morning. Just as he was about to leave, Rosweiss's hand reached out from behind and gently grabbed his shirt. Leon paused, glancing back at her sleeping face in confusion as she clung to him. In her sleep, Rosweiss murmured softly about the cold. Hearing this, Leon reflected silently that, when asleep, all living beings instinctively seek warmth and move closer to it. This is the instinct of all living things. Leon looked at Rosweiss with a distant, loner-like expression, reminding himself not to be fooled again. Yet, despite that thought lingering within him, he reached out and gently held Rosweiss's hand. Slowly, he slipped back under the bedsheet beside her. Lying close to Rosweiss, Leon gazed at her quietly, thinking that staying here beside her was far warmer than returning to his own room and lying alone on a cold bed. As night gave way to morning, Moon entered Rosweiss's bedroom just after waking up herself, calling out curiously upon not seeing her mother up yet. She stepped inside, calling out again, wondering why her mummy hadn't woken up. Approaching the bed, Moon tried to wake Rosweiss by gently shaking her, urging her to get up because the sun was already setting over the land. Still caught in half sleep, Rosweiss mumbled for Moon to go play with her daddy instead. Following her mother's sleepy suggestion, Moon moved to the other side of the bed where Leon lay. She tried waking him up by shaking him, playfully remarking that the sun was shining on his backside. Leon, still half asleep and momentarily forgetting where he was, mumbled that it was too warm and begged for just a little more sleep. Looking at both Rosweiss and Leon snuggled close together, Moon puffed her cheeks in a cute, frustrated pout. It was clear she couldn't reason with either of them. As the two continued to sleep, wrapped in each other's arms, Moon muttered to herself in a small voice, wondering aloud who was left to play with her when they were hugging each other so tightly. But even then, Rosweiss and Leon remained fast asleep, still not waking up. Moon, standing by the bed, remarked with innocent surprise that it was the first time she had seen her parents being so affectionate with each other. Her curious eyes scanned both of them, and she tilted her head, noticing something odd. Observing the red spots scattered across their bodies, Moon spoke aloud with a puzzled tone, wondering why there were so many. With an innocent sense of deduction, Moon recalled what she had learned and concluded that these must be bug bites. Determined to help, Moon began searching through the drawers in the room, remembering that her mother had once taught her to apply medicine when bitten by insects. As she continued rummaging, she cheerfully exclaimed that she had found it, pulling out the 10,000 dragon ointment, a balm used for mosquito bites, known for promoting blood circulation and reducing swelling. Moon stood proudly, holding the 10,000 dragon ointment in her hands, beaming with confidence. With a soft voice filled with determination, she assured her sleeping parents that they had nothing to worry about, she would take good care of them while her sister wasn't around. A sense of pride swelled within her as she felt capable and responsible, happily taking on the role of caregiver. With a mischievous grin, Moon began applying the ointment generously across Leon and Rosweiss's bodies, moving back and forth with energetic enthusiasm. She focused especially on Leon, cheerfully declaring that Daddy needed a bit more. Time passed as she continued her playful treatment. Eventually, Rosweiss stirred from her sleep, the sensation finally pulling her from slumber. Rosweiss called out to Leon, urging him to wake up. Hearing her voice, Leon slowly opened his eyes, groggy from sleep. As he sat up, a puzzled expression crossed his face. Feeling the cool sensation, he murmured in confusion, wondering aloud why his face felt wet. Leon turned to look at Rosweiss's face, and his eyes immediately caught the sight of the 10,000 dragon ointment smeared across her cheeks and body. For a moment, he simply paused, silently staring at her with wide eyes. Rosweiss, however, stood with her arms folded, wearing a cold and expressionless look. Unable to hold it in any longer, Leon pointed at her and burst into loud laughter, teasing her with a grin as he questioned what was going on with her face. In response, Rossweiss remained silent, not reacting much to his amusement, letting his laughter pass. Just then, Moon came bounding over with excitement, proudly announcing that she was the one who had done it. She explained that she noticed both her daddy and mommy had red marks all over their bodies, thinking they had been bitten by insects, so she helped by applying the medicine. Upon hearing the word red marks, Leon suddenly froze, quickly realizing what Moon was referring to. He coughed awkwardly from the embarrassment. Rossweiss, too, looked away shyly, her cool demeanor cracking as a blush spread across her face. Leon coughed in embarrassment, silently thinking that there were just some things children were better off not knowing. Meanwhile, Moon, full of excitement and expecting praise for her good deed, looked up at her parents and eagerly asked if she was awesome. Smiling warmly, Leon gently patted her head and assured her that she did a great job. Cheered by his words, Moon beamed with pride and announced that next time, she would help both mommy and daddy apply the medicine too. At her innocent declaration, both Leon and Rossweiss exchanged awkward glances, the same thought crossing their minds: next time, they should definitely remember to lock the door. After some quiet time passed, Leon prepared a bowl of food. Taking it over to Rossweiss, he sat beside her and lifted a spoonful toward her mouth, gesturing with a playful tone for her to open up as he said, "Ah." As the spoon neared her lips, Rossweiss, flustered and embarrassed, turned her head slightly and refused to open her mouth, asking in disbelief what exactly he thought he was doing. In one swift motion, Leon gently pushed the spoonful of food into Rossweiss's mouth before she could resist. He calmly told her that he would feed her. After all, she hadn't eaten in several days. Though dragons could go without food or water during their hibernation period, he was certain she must be hungry by now. Rossweiss, puffing her cheeks slightly in protest, obediently chewed the food and muttered that he didn't have to feed her, she could eat on her own. Still, a small smile tugged at her lips as she glanced at him and cheekily remarked that the taste wasn't bad. Deep down, she genuinely liked the food he brought her, but her pride wouldn't let her admit it so easily. Leon, taking a bite from the same bowl, grinned and declared that of course it tasted good. It was fried rice he made with love. Seeing him eat her portion, Rossweiss reached for the bowl with a slight frown, questioning why he was eating it when he said it was meant for her. Leon, chuckling and keeping the bowl just out of her reach, teased her by saying that he was afraid she wouldn't be able to finish it all, so he was helping. Rossweiss, unwilling to back down, insisted that she could finish it and demanded another bite. Just like that, in the comfort of that quiet morning, the two shared light-hearted moments, laughing, teasing, and enjoying each other's presence. For that time, they simply lived like a normal couple, far away from vengeance and pride. With laughter and shared bites, Rossweiss's meal gradually came to an end. The playful atmosphere lingered as Leon got up from the bed and looked at her with a satisfied smile. He remarked that since she had been feeling weak and had difficulty moving recently, he had taken care of everything: her baths, her meals, feeding her. He had been nothing but considerate. Rossweiss, crossing her arms with a slight pout. She questioned whether by taking care he meant the kind of attention that led to long, exhausting hours in bed after meals or bathing, clearly referring to how his so-called care always seemed to end with passionate intimacy. Leon, unfazed and with a light mocking tone, replied that what she called torture was, in fact, just the loving care of a husband. In response to Leon's teasing words, Rossweiss shouted angrily, her voice echoing through the room. She warned him that every cheap, infuriating thing he did now would become a humiliation she'd one day return to him in full. He should remember that well. Leon, unfazed, casually waved his hand as he walked away and called out with a smirk, "See you tomorrow morning, my beloved wife." Frustrated and burning with anger, Rossweiss clenched her fists tightly. Through gritted teeth, she muttered that the damn dragon slayer really knew how to torment her. Unable to hold in her frustration, she slammed her fist into the wall, only to witness the unexpected. The force of her punch caused deep cracks to spread across the entire surrounding area. Startled, Rossweiss stared at the wall, then slowly looked down at her own hand. Her eyes widened as realization dawned. Her power had returned. Meanwhile, in the kitchen, Leon was happily humming to himself as he washed the dishes, wearing a relaxed smile. Still basking in the light mood, he chuckled and muttered that he hoped she didn't recover too soon. He still wanted to tease her a little longer. But in that moment of ease, he remained blissfully unaware of the shift that had just occurred. Rossweiss's strength was back. And now, it was her turn. That night, Anna stood outside Rossweiss's room and knocked on the door, letting her presence know before entering. She presented a liquid medicine prescribed by the doctor to help Rossweiss regain her strength. However, Rossweiss calmly declined, stating that her body had already recovered and there was no need for the medicine. As Anna glanced around the room, she noticed the cracked wall and asked about it. Rossweiss explained that she hadn't controlled her strength properly and would have someone repair it the next day. Anna nodded and began to leave, but Rossweiss called for her to wait. As Anna turned back, Rossweiss, slightly blushing, shyly covered her face with a book and requested that Anna not tell Leon about her recovery. She wished for him to continue taking care of her for a few more days. Anna remained silent for a moment, looking at Rossweiss. Anna, then smiling, agrees to keep the secret. As Anna left the room, Rossweiss's expression shifted into a smirk. Internally, she thought to herself, Leon, good days are over. 2 days later, at the Silver Dragon Castle, Moon was bouncing around excitedly, asking Leon if she could learn something. She referred to it as the ability where his body became shiny. Leon, confused and not understanding what she meant, asked if she was talking about something sparkly or magic. Moon clarified that it was something she had seen Daddy and Mommy did at the training ground. Realizing what she was referring to, Leon asked why she suddenly wanted to learn magic. Moon hesitated slightly before saying that her sister had learned a lot at the academy, and she didn't want to be left behind. With a cheerful grin, Leon replied that it seemed like she wanted to learn something, and Moon enthusiastically nodded. Leon thought to himself that the advantage of having 2 children was the natural competition between them. Since Moon looked up to her sister so much, it made sense that she wouldn't want to feel left out. Leon, understanding what needed to be done, reassured Moon with a confident smile, telling her that he would definitely teach her magic, starting with some basic guidance. Moon cheerfully thanked him. Leon then began teaching her the fundamentals of magic. Some time passed as Moon practiced diligently under his supervision. As Leon watched her, he thought to himself that after only a few hours, Moon had already managed to successfully guide the magic power within her body. It seemed possible that she would soon experience magical enlightenment and awaken her original magical abilities. As Moon continued her practice, Leon began to wonder if she might be a genius. However, just as he was contemplating her potential, Moon suddenly stopped, looking at him with pitiful eyes. She told him that she was hungry. Leon, left speechless, awkwardly laughed and scratched his head, telling himself not to rush things. After finishing their practice, Leon took Moon to lunch. He told her that they were done for the day and that they should head back to eat. Moon cheerfully agreed, praising her dad and calling him the best. Meanwhile, in Rossweiss's bedroom, Anna entered, carrying some items she had been asked to find. Rossweiss told her to set them aside. Just then, Leon entered the room, waving cheerfully and greeting his wife, saying he had arrived. Rossweiss thanked Anna for her hard work and told her to go downstairs first. As Leon stepped inside, he thought to himself that, according to Anna's earlier report, Rossweiss would need 5 more days to fully recover. This gave him ample time to continue his torture of Rossweiss. Approaching her with a mischievous grin, Leon offered to give her a massage if she felt uncomfortable anywhere. Rossweiss, looking at him with an arrogant expression, responded with a challenge. She taunted him, asking why he didn't show her the full strength of the Empire's mightiest dragon slayer. She then added that it had only been 2 days, and he was already finished. Was that really all he could do? Leon, hearing her words, becomes annoyed and asks what she just said. He suddenly removes the blanket from Rossweiss, remarking that he had intended to let her rest tonight because she seemed so tired, but it seems he was worrying too much. Rossweiss looks at Leon, pretending to be weak and pitiful. Leon, placing his hand on her cheek and getting close to her face while looking into her eyes, comments that her mouth is tough, so her body must be tough too. Leon then removes his t-shirt and tells Rossweiss that she will regret this. Rossweiss, with a cunning smile, replies that she has never regretted anything. Suddenly, Rossweiss uses her tail to catch Leon and wraps it around him. Leon, in shock, watches as she drags him with full speed, before throwing him forcefully onto the bed. Rossweiss then slowly climbs up the bed and sits on top of Leon, smirking as she looks into his eyes. Leon, noticing the sudden change in her demeanor, thinks about her great strength. Realizing what's happening, he asks her if she has fully recovered. Rossweiss, with an arrogant and proud expression, places her finger on her lips to signal him to remain silent and not shout. She then removes the red cloth that Anna had previously brought. Leon, seeing the handcuffs and other items, is taken aback in shock, wondering when she had prepared all of this. Rossweiss proceeds to handcuff Leon's hands, and he begins to question if he is sending himself into the tiger's mouth. Rossweiss removes Leon's clothes, handcuffing both his hands and legs, and even ties a cloth around his eyes. Leon trembles, gritting his teeth in humiliation. Rossweiss, looking at him with an arrogant expression, warns him not to think about struggling. Leon, angered by her words, asks if she's trying to torture him to extract a confession. It's now time for the special edition, which involves a change of hairstyle. One of the days, while Rosweiss is weak and on bed rest, Leon braids her hair as she sleeps. Rosweiss wakes up, noticing Leon playing with her hair, and asks what he's doing. Leon, caught off guard, responds that she's awake. Leon brings a mirror and shows it to Rosweiss, suggesting that she might want to change her hairstyle occasionally. Rosweiss looks at her hair in the mirror and asks what this is. Leon casually replies that he made it up randomly and if she doesn't like it, she can simply untie it. Rosweiss, blushing deeply at the sight of the ponytail, thinks that it's not bad. As always, Rosweiss keeps her feelings to herself, not expressing them outwardly. So, secretly, she decides to keep the braid. I'll upload the remaining chapters within 2 days. Enjoy watching, and don't forget to subscribe.